Before we begin, thank you very much to Renji Abarai777 for joining the Patreon campaign. Oddly familiar name as well. I'm pretty sure I've heard that before. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming back. Unless I've heard you from somewhere else, in which case, thanks for joining in the first place. Guys, I've done over 300 shoutouts in a row. If we make it to February, I'll have done this for a straight year. I might be forgetting a few people I have shouted out in the past. Nevertheless, regardless of when you pitched in, I absolutely appreciate it, and thank you for helping to keep the content coming. And thank you very much. Let's get to today's topic, because you're probably wondering why you clicked on this video with a standard thumbnail, but we're set up like this is going to be a random review. Because, frankly, the way that we're going to tackle this particular video is by just demonstrating example. Because, let's be honest here, these are Earthspark toys, right? So, if I were to do these as random reviews, well, number one, they would die a death in the algorithm because they're Earthspark based. But also, number two, they would be exceptionally long videos because the Transformers have 4 modes to cover, and the humans with their biosuits they have to come with all have 3 modes. So even to do just one set at a time would be a very long video that would die a death in the algorithm. Let's be honest here. If you're a Transformer collector and you saw what these can do, you really only have one concern in your mind and one thing you're curious about. How well are they doing the Energon combiner thing? Because if you haven't heard, these are cyber combiners from Earthspark. They just got cited in the US. They're available on Amazon right now. And guess what? They have the exact same linking capability, almost right down to the same socket, as the Energon Autobots from the mid-2000s, which I think is one of the best gimmicks Hasbro ever did. So this is super exciting for collectors because here, I'll get this out right now. Hasbro likes to test the waters. It's the same reason we have Energon Megatron as a core class figure, and why there's a listing for a Beast Machines Cheetor at core class. Cheap way of just testing the waters and seeing, will this sell? Will something from the Unicron trilogy sell? So this is another way of gauging, because Hasbro said in the past, we want to do power linking again, but if we do any kind of Energon character, the Autobot side especially, we'll want to do power linking as part of the gimmick. So this is their way of seeing if they can still do it and if collectors and fans are going to be receptive. So we'll put the humans aside from now, and we'll actually just take a look at this and talk about how cool this is. So, for starters, we're going to point out that the vehicles themselves are fairly compromised in order to get the room for the gimmick. Keep in mind, this does require a lot of extra parts and a lot of extra engineering in order to make all of this work. So the fact that these are compromised a little bit is not surprising. Yeah, Twitch here has had far better looking drone modes. It's really just Twitch folded up a little bit, mostly. Just to give them the vehicle mode. Just to say, they still turn into a drone, a very chunky drone, but a drone nonetheless. Bumblebee fares a bit better, but we'll be honest, he is definitely showing it too. It helps that his in-show design also has that big block in the rear. Feels like they accounted for that, so they had the extra bulk to work with during transformations, especially for gimmicky toys. But yeah, that big hinge down the front of his windshield, that's definitely a bit of an eyesore. You can see the connection port on the back. It does work the same way as the ones from Energon, though it is not quite shaped the same. It's much smaller, but it will get the job done. You'll also notice the spoiler is spring-loaded, because guess what? Compared to original Energon combiners, these actually have a few more tricks to them, which is the interesting part to me. So let me give you a quick transformation just so you can see like the level of complexity that we've got going on here just as base Transformers, because the Energon Deluxes actually had a pretty good job. Like they actually did a pretty good job of being just like really good independent Transformers that sometimes suffered for the combination gimmick, but sometimes not. You'll find these guys are much simpler and quicker to transform. Yeah, and then, yeah, there's some play to the wings here if you want. Now, in order to actually make all of this work, proportionally, these are going to be interesting. In order to be in proportion in the combined mode, most of them have these like really long legs over here. You know, if I bring in if I bring in Mo, yeah, you can see the same long leg thing going on. That's mostly to allow for the torso mode to have arms that are the right size. So let's do the same thing with Bumblebee. I will give you a example of how he transforms. This guy, I hate to say, is like painfully similar to Hotshot from Energon, which I hate to say. Now, in the robot mode, it's not going to be so much so, but once we get into the combinations, you're going to start to see it. So, let's go in and, yeah, as you can see, fairly simple transformations for both of them. Nothing terribly complicated because they're trying to save all that engineering for the combinations. And yes, very leggy, though Bumblebee wears it better than Twitch does. Also, very weird to see Twitch and Bumblebee the same size. I feel like that's just a little bit of a oversight. But point being, they work pretty well just as individual figures. So you've got ball joint engineering, you've got ball jointed shoulders, you've got hinged elbows, so they have basic articulation. Hips and knees work. The hips are universal. No head swivel, no waist swivel, no ankle tilt. It's just cut to actually stand when his legs are splayed. Twitch works very much the same way. I will state that there is a detent in the legs so they can stay solid when they're in leg mode, meaning the knees are not quite as posable and can be a little bit loose once you start to bend them for poses. They're not the type of figure you put on display. Let's put it out that way. Because of all this, they're really just meant to sit and play with, you know, like toys are. I know it sounds silly, but yeah, kind of how it goes. All right, so before we get into like combining, now we get to take a look at Robbie and Mo. Robbie being on your right with the bulkier armor, Mo on the left. What's interesting to me about the designs, well, there's a few things interesting to me about the designs. You can see the kid's head inside the mech suit, by the way. It's very hard to make them out because the plastic is only like half transparent, but also, they got no bodies. The bodies are gone. They all just kind of work like Futurama, you know, guest celebrities. They're all just heads in jars. But the overall figures are not too bad. They're in the exact same matched shade of this kind of like mint green translucent plastic. And yeah, kind of like a metallic blue, like almost like a titanium color. They work fairly well at that point. And again, you're looking at essentially the same engineering level that's going on in the Autobots, the same level of articulation. You know, nothing at the head or waist or anything, same detent in the knee, etc. What's fascinating to me about these is that there are trace elements of vehicle mode in them. Now for like Mo, obviously you've got the wings, you know, and I wouldn't really think much of that. I just assume that in order to make the toys different, you know, Robbie is built for muscle and power, Mo is built for speed and flight. That makes sense. But if we take a look, he's got treads built into his feet as if he is supposed to actually turn into a tank or some kind of crawler vehicle. That's not a thing that this toy can do. Keep in mind, these toys are the first ones where the character is actually marketed as a Terran. Hi. So, this could likely be something that is pulled from an inspiration in Season 2. Robbie and Mo may potentially get mech suits like this. We've seen Robbie being able to manifest something similar just straight out of power from his cyber gauntlet. So, or cyber sleeve rather. So it's possible that we're looking at something that's previewed in Season 2. And I think that more so later on, but we'll get to that. So let's take a look. So Robbie and Twitch are the pair. So we'll go with them. Now, for the combiner gimmick, a lot of them just kind of have the same way of dealing with things. The arms just go out of the way and just find a way to click into the back so they don't move. So that's a little bit disappointing. You know, they're going to stick off the butt a little bit, but hey, you know, that's actually kind of standard for a lot of Energon combiners, if we remember them correctly. All right, let's get Twitch transformed, and Twitch actually has a little bit more of a process to her. See, if we can snap her arms like so, duck her head down. Now, she's going to have to peg her hands into the VTOLs in the back. So those keep the hands from going anywhere. Doesn't do a good job of hiding them or incorporating them into the combiner mode. But then let's see what's going on here. We'll flip her upside down in order to do the pelvis split. And the head is now spring-loaded. That's not something they could do in Energon. Here, I'll flip up the feet to reveal the hands. That's pretty much exactly how Energon combiners worked a lot of the time. And then, yeah, they just snap together, just like the Energon combiners do. And what you end up with is a pretty sizable figure, all things considered. So let me bring in another one of the stowaways, the strays we have here at the shop. Here's a Burnout. So already, now Burnout, I'll admit it, the skids mold is a little bit of a short stack as far as deluxes go. However, you can get a sense of scale here. These are fairly big when they're combined, and even individually, they pretty much are the same size as deluxes. You know, so let's get this straight right now. Now that you're looking at this shot, I bought these on Amazon for $24.99. The last time I looked, which admittedly was last night, so it could be changed now, they were still at that price. Some people could see it at that price on my Twitter feed. Some could not. I don't know if that's just a regional thing, but for the most part, I have seen these consistently available on Amazon as of this recording at $24.99. Out in California, these have already been cited at a Target. The listing price there on the shelf was $41.99. And given how Hasbro prices out their Earthspark toys, that is to say 10 to 20% more than I would actually like to spend on them, I'm willing to bet the $41.99 is the correct price. So if you're curious about these, go grab them on Amazon while they're still there, because that price is incorrect. They will either sell out or that will get changed. One or the other will happen. You know, and obviously I don't have an Amazon link. I have an Entertainment Earth link, and once they become available there, I'd be very happy if you pre-ordered them there through my link. But at the moment, I don't think they are available there. So I'm not telling you this to go get you to buy something because I'm making a commission off of it. I'm literally telling you, hey, this is a wrong price, and these are really, really good for that wrong price if you can catch it. This is more a public service announcement than anything. So we can see we're actually getting pretty good size here. Now that said, if these are $21 each, then they still do have a little bit of room in their budget if they were going to bring these into Generations. So when we think about that, you could work in more parts for better articulation there. You could work in more parts for more, ways of hiding the excess joints and hinges, etc. in the vehicle modes, maybe, tighten them up. There is room here for me to genuinely believe these could be translated into Generations Energon figures, just because they're just enough budget just to get away with it, right? All right, so let's do the other half now. So let me show you what's actually going on here. So, similar. Have to get the wings out of the way to make sure this is going to go. Since we formed the upper body here from the Terran, I think the Autobot's going to become the lower body, which, by the way, this is where we start getting very Energon hotshot. I fold up the arms and send them to the back like this and peg them in. See, that gives me vibes of how hotshot worked as an Energon combiner. That's concerning. All right, so let's get this girl figured out. The wings have to. Why are the wings not folding back enough? There we go. Arms have a spot to tab in right there, just enough to hold them into place. Head flip down. Ignore the missing torso. Oh, there we go. It's, if you ever saw the reboot of what was it? The reboot of Max Steel. The color patterns give me a big vibe of that. So again, combines just like so. Yeah, and you get a pretty big figure out of it, all things considered. Here's the cool thing. Already, we'll get to the cool thing. Already, yeah, it is very much just the Energon combining gimmick, right? This, if you're a 2000s kid, or you went back and went into that particular era of Transformers, this should feel exceptionally familiar. And so far, if you ask me, in a good way, because these are doing a fairly good job of it. And here's what I'm going to show you that kind of amazes me. Since we've not messed with the lower halves, they still retain all their articulation from their individual modes, correct? That's a lot more than some Energon figures could do. Remember, they actually do have a detent in the knee that does prevent them from actually being as sturdy, from being, wobbly in this combined mode. So it's not something to pose and then put on display. You're going to have to pose, you're going to have to put it on display like this. But just to sit and play with, yeah, it's going to be fine. I also forgot to mention, the kids have built-in super boots to kind of boost them up and shift the proportions a little bit. So now Twitch gets to be taller. All right. So among the other things, so we saw the flip out head. All four of them have that, which I already think is kind of cool to work in some kind of automorph to these on top of everything else they're doing. But also, check this out. The hips don't have waists, but they have an extra hinge that allows the shoulder to be universally jointed on top of a 90-degree elbow. That's actually pretty cool. And you still have the actual hip that gives it the arm a swivel. So you get actually a surprising level of motion. You still don't get a waist joint because of how it combines, and you still don't get a neck joint. But this is something more than what Energon combiners could do. Most Energon combiners sacrificed a lot of the arm articulation once they got into the torso mode. Unless you were combining Energon Prowl with Energon Prowl, you weren't getting the experience, you weren't getting the level of articulation that these two are accomplishing on their own, which I think is a surprising step up. And also, when you start thinking about budgetary things, the Automorph would not be part of a Generations line. So now it feels more viable that Energon combiners could still be a thing in a modern Generations line, which kind of has me excited, especially if they do Combiner War style, where it's a line-wide gimmick, and even the Decepticons could do it, and everything you bought could combine. This is pie in the sky now, but it's exciting. Let me finish this up by just showing off a couple of the fact that these do still work entirely the way you would expect them to for Energon combiners. I'm going to keep calling them that. They're cyber combiners here, but I'm going to keep calling them Energon combiners because that's what they are. That's just me being correct about it. These get stuck on me. The heels flip out. Yeah, I don't have time. I'm just trying to be a quick video. The heels do flip out to have a little bit more stability in the combiner mode for Twitch when she's in leg mode. All right, and then we can flip over. I kind of like that these are so simple to switch between modes to modes, because it does let me very quickly go between the two and show off all the different things that they can do, which is another reason why I wanted to do it this way, so we kind of go through it more quickly. And so Autobots and Terrans work perfectly. They work exactly like you expect these kind of toys to do, exactly the way Energon combiners did. And again, there are a few new tricks. So again, he comes off with the same silhouette, and that's the big bulky yellow fists of Energon Hotshot, but I give it more credit. It's a better toy than our Energon Hotshot, because it's just doing everything better. And then, the obvious thing, which is the kids combined too. Now, the heads on these two are the same, so it's really just which side do you want it to be, bulky on top or thick-legged, whichever. And then, they do have the weaponry. I'm trying not to review these, but at least let's show it correctly before we end. But I honestly wonder, I feel like if this really is a preview of something Season 2 is going to bring us, I kind of feel like this is the part we're going to see. You know, Robbie and Mo having their own way of using their powers to combine and join in on the fight. So I feel like we're getting a little bit of a spoiler for Season 2, but that might just be me being speculative. The point of this video is to show these things basically do what Energon combiners do, but they throw in a few new twists that the old ones didn't have. And if we account for the budget these toys get compared to the ones that Generations gets, I could absolutely see them doing this to give us modern Energon toys. This feels proof of concept. This feels like something that Hasbro would test the waters with, like the core class figures I mentioned before. So if these do well, or fans are receptive to them, we might have a better shot of getting Energon-style Autobots again in the main line. And you know what? I would not be opposed to that, because they are very, very fun figures that I would love to see improvement on. So there you go. For everyone who is curious, these are actually really, really nice, especially if you get them for the stupid cheap price. So yeah, if you want a little bit of nostalgia for Energon, go ahead, grab them. I hope this sated your curiosity without having to sit through too much analysis and all of that. So let me know what you thought in the comments below, because this is kind of weird vibe for one of my videos. Let me know how you liked this presentation, or just what you think of these guys in general. And as always, I will see you next time.